Hey guys, welcome to my comprehensive Prot Warrior PvP gearing guide. With the introduction of Phase 2 and Aturia, we're going to have access to a metric shit ton of armor penetration gear. This is the first time in Season 6 or Phase 2 of Wrath of the Lich King that we're going to see an increase in eye level in PvE and PvP gear, meaning that we're going to get more stats, more armor pen, and Prot's going to become stronger even faster. Same with arms, but we're really focusing on Prot in this video. The main stats we want is armor penetration, crit, hit, and resilience. That's what we're really looking for into these Prot pieces. The main thing being a high amount of armor pen. After 50%, armor pen really starts scaling very well, and every point is worth more and more value than it is at the low end. So if you're looking at 1 to 50% armor pen, at the lower end, each point of armor pen is worth a lot less than from 50 to 100%, and the higher it goes, the more it's worth. So enchants like Executioner become extremely valuable when you have more and more armor pen, and it's a lot cheaper to enchant. So this first set of gear that we're going into is your 350 to 450 resilience set. You can change the resilience by switching your shoulder, helm, and leg enchant to the desired resilience you want. I think about 400 is the sweet spot because we really want to bang out as much armor penetration we can in D-stance, and D-stance gives you more tankiness overall. So this is similar to having a 700, 800 resilience set with around 400 resilience because of being in D-stance. So going into the gearing, a lot of this is going to be raid gear. We're going to be dropping the 4 set to get more armor penetration. Now, losing the attack power and the cooldown on intercept is a little rough, but I believe getting a lot more armor penetration, probably about 10% more armor penetration, is going to be extremely valuable and worth it. In my other sets, I do have a balance set where we have the 4 set, and you can play with that as well. But I think this is going to be our go-to, and dropping the 4 set will be worth it. But I could be wrong. We'll see when the season comes out and everybody gets to test this. So going into the gearing, first thing is going to be the helm. Your helm options, really only the Conqueror helm, since we're not going to be using the PvP one. There's really no other good choices. It's going to be the tier helm or the 10-man version of the helm, whatever you can get. This is from badges. It's easy to get. Neck, you want the hard mode Hodir neck from 25 men. This is going to be your best neck overall. Other options for neck are going to be the Leviathan neck from 10 men and the PvP neck. There is also this neck as well, which is not bad from Freya hard mode, but that might be pretty tough to get. And then the neck from last phase isn't bad as well. And there's, if you're really unlucky, you can get the badge neck. This has a lot of crit rating on it. So one thing I want you to note when it comes to gearing is there's not a one size fits all for gearing. This exact set can be remade 3-4 different ways based on what you have, and it'll be within a couple percentage of armor pen, crit, and hit of each other. So for instance, if you don't have this neck, you go for one of the other options, so your stats will change a little bit, then you'd be able to change a different piece. So make sure that you pick up every single piece of armor penetration gear that you can get and hold on to it, leave it in your bank, leave it in your bags, because you're going to be mix matching your pieces nonstop. Shoulders, we really only have one option, and it's going to be the Furious for the set. The reason why we're using the Furious shoulders and gloves are because they give you the least amount of armor pen when you use the PvE or armor pen pieces. So they're the best 2 pieces to use for your 2 set bonus to maintain some sort of level of resilience. But if you do want PvE pieces here, the other option would be the shoulders from Algalon 10 men. These are pretty good. They're double socket and they have 39 armor pen. Going to Cloak, I believe overall this is one piece that I would really, really highly recommend prioritizing. This is going to be the Cloak off of 10 men hard mode general. This cloak has 2 sockets, a bunch of crit, a bunch of agility, and it has a lot of armor pen. So you get a lot of armor pen, you get a lot of crit rating. 2 things that you want very, very much as Prot. So this is your number 1 cloak. I think this is one of the most important items to prioritize because it gives you a lot of valuable stats. Other options that aren't bad are the Salish ones off of Mimron, and then the Drape off of Razor Scale. Both are also very good cloaks if you don't have this 10-man hard mode Drape. And there's really no other armor pen option from this phase. So those are your 3 main cloaks, with Drape of the Faceless General being the main one. Chest, you really only have one good option, and that is the tier chest. It gives you the most armor pen, gives you 2 sockets. Now, for whatever reason, if you don't have the badges or you didn't get the tier chest, you can pick up the 1 socket chest, which is okay, but you still lose a lot of value because you have 1 less socket and less stats overall. But it is an option, and it has hit rating on it if you desperately need hit rating. So if you're in a gearing situation where you're desperate on hit rating, this chest is not a bad option at all from 10 men. Okay, going into bracers, there are 2 excellent pair of bracers here. The Decimators off of 25 men and the Bitter Cold Arm Guards off of Hodir are both extremely good bracers. I would recommend picking up both pairs because this will be one of your main swapping back and forth pieces. I think the Bitter Cold Arm Guards are a little better because you have the socket, you get more armor pen out of them. But at the same time, if you need that hit rating, switching to Decimators is a perfect valid solution. And while we're on bracers, I want to take a note. We are dropping engineering this phase because the value of 2 sockets, 1 on bracers and 1 on gloves for armor pen, getting that 34 extra armor pen is extremely more valuable than getting 1500 damage on a gloves proc and maybe a 2.5k crit. The glove, it was nice last season, but HP pools are going to be scaling a little higher this season, and we're going to get a lot more value from armor pen. Some other classes may still be able to use engineering, but warriors, you definitely want to start switching over to blacksmithing right now. And then going into weapons, we have a few different options. The best option is going to be the tier 2 Furious axe. If you're orc, if you're human, you can go with the long blade. Well, the long blade's a little less damage. I think it would be the mace, since you have mace specialization. It'd most definitely be the mace if you're human. A PvE option would be this fist weapon. This fist weapon is excellent. You can get this week 1 from hard mode. The only thing, it has haste, and you really don't want haste. And you also lose out on having some resilience from this fist weapon. But pretty much anything you can get early on would be a big upgrade from Calamity's Grasp, which was last phase's best. Weapon enchant-wise, Berserking's okay, but the more and more armor pen you get, Executioner gains more value, and it's cheaper. It has a really good proc rate as well, so I would highly recommend using Executioner this phase once you have over 50% armor pen, especially when you get over 60%. Shield-wise, you really only have this one option. Now, I will give you 2 other options, but for damage, the Skull of Rune is going to be the best. It's the only shield with block value, and block value increases your shield slam damage. This will be about 1,000 damage increased on your shield slam crits. Your other options are the Agalon shield and the BOE shield. Give me 1 second to find these for you. Okay, apply shield. Oh, it was already applied. Okay, so the Bulwark is a pretty good defensive shield, and it has a socket in it, so you can put some armor pen in there. So this would probably be the go-to shield overall because it gives you the most amount of defensive stats. It gives you more strength, gives you a little bit more stamina, gives you the socket, but it doesn't give you any block value. So you lose that block value, which is a lot of damage, and I would really still recommend going the Skull of Rune. Even though this is the overall more defensive option, more balanced option, the Skull of Rune is the best damage option still. And then the third shield, now if you don't have any shield and you want to get a good starting shield, this BOE shield will give you hit rating, expertise, strength, and stamina. The defense is kind of worthless, but it is your 3rd best option. Okay, going into gloves. This is, like I already said, we're using the PvP gloves due to we need 2-piece to get some level of resilience, and dropping the gloves for PvE isn't as valuable, but I will show you the 2 other options for gloves. This is the hit armor pen gloves, and these are the crit armor pen gloves. These are your 2 other options for PvE gloves. They're easy to get. One's badge and one's 10-man general. Going into belt, there are only 2 possible belts that you can use, and the main one that you really want to prioritize getting this phase is the Girdle of Embers. It is your only good armor pen plate belt. There are some other armor pen belts, but they're leather and they're mail, and you really don't want to be dropping into that section. And then, like I said, the PvP belt is decent, but you really don't want to go PvP belt because it doesn't have any armor pen on it. As you can see, it doesn't have any armor pen, not really worth getting. So leggings, this has 3 different options, PvP being one of them if you're going to be using 4-piece. Your number one armor pen PvE piece will be the Clockwork leggings from XT25. Should overall be easy to get if they drop. Then your second best will actually be from last phase, and they're not that much worse. They actually have better armor pen, better crit, because you get an extra socket, but you're losing out on strength and you're losing out on stamina. But nonetheless, the Double Strike leggings from 25-man are extremely good and comparable to Clockwork leggings. So they're nothing to scoff at. If you only have the Double Strike leggings, very strong piece to go into this phase with for Prot. Going to boots, you really don't have any options for boots. Your best pair of boots are from last phase, 25-man Malagos. These have an insane amount of armor pen on them, and they have decent main stats. Like, it's all the stats you want. They're just a little less stats because they're 226 eye level. Overall, your best armor pen boots for the phase. There's really no other option. If you're looking through, then you're starting to look at male boots that still have less armor pen. Male boots, again, with 2 sockets, so you can kind of get comparable armor pen, but you're losing a lot of armor. You really just want to get these boots, and you're probably going to have to go back and grind 10 men if you don't have them, because the PvP boots do not have armor pen and they're not really worth using. Rings, this is one of those slots where you have very many options, but you're going to notice 3 of your best rings are all from Algalon. So Algalon's really the gatekeeper of armor pen rings. Band of Lights, both the brand's rings are all from Algalon. So those are kind of like your 3 best rings that you can be getting. But the other 3 options are still very important to get, and you would want to collect all of these. So Algalon's 1, 2, and 3 here. And then the next ones are going to be from XT 10-man, Ignis 10-man, and Flame Leviathan 25-man. Sorry, Ignis 25-man. So you want to actually have all these rings, all the armor pen rings, because you're going to be mix and matching these based on what stats you get to make your gear as best as possible. The ring's the easiest slot to switch in and out of. Now, with that said, the brand ring from 25-man Algalon is absolutely insane. It's a 52 eye level, or 252 eye level ring with agility crit. So you already have insane amount of crit, socket plus armor pen. Absolutely wild. And then Bands of Lights is pretty much the same thing, but instead of crit, you have hit rating on it. And it is another extremely powerful ring. Those are normally your 2 main ones, but the other 3 are nothing to scoff at, and they're going to be a little easier to get. And they'll probably be the first rings that you'll be using this season. The PvP ring is definitely not worth it. It doesn't have any armor pen. Coming down into trinkets, Horde, you'll be using the Medallion of the Horde for resilience. If you want to have a more damaging option for your PvP trinket, they're adding Titan Rune Forge of Determination. This is an excellent trinket just for raw damage if you're sacrificing all of your resilience, which will show in later sets. If you're human, you're going to use Greatness. And the reason why you're going to be using Greatness over Medallion, over like Grimtal or a double armor pen trinket is because you're going to be capping this phase. So our main trinket, let me talk about this first, is the Runestone from Hard Mode 10-man Thorium. And this trinket is extremely good. Gives you 751 armor pen when procced, and it gives you a bunch of crit rating. This is going to cap your armor pen to 100% and make you do true damage minus resilience. But if you have Grimtal with this, and they proc at the same time, you're not going to get any benefit as a human because you're wasting the damage stack. Now, if you don't have Runestone, you can definitely use Grimtal. That is a completely viable option. I think most warriors that have over 50% armor pen right now you should aim for about 60% if you can as soon as possible, and then use Grimtal or Runestone, and that's going to put you at 100% armor pen when they proc. But if you're a human, you should be using Greatness, because if you get a Greatness proc plus Grimtal or Runestone, one or the two, your damage is going to be so much stronger having that strength on top of the armor pen, having your 100% armor pen, and then your strength, because the armor pens don't stack together because you're already capped at 100%. So you always try not to overcap. Those are the trinkets you want. There are some other options if you're a human, like Dark Matter is actually really good. Like you could stack Dark Matter plus Rune of Determination, Malyor's Runestone. That would be a really strong ratio there. You probably get your crit to around 50% with that proc. So that's definitely another great option. Comet's not really that good. Haste really doesn't do anything for us. And then there's really no other trinkets to dive into. So those are kind of your like 3-4 trinkets that you can play with, mostly if you're human. If you're Horde, you're pretty much stuck to using Medallion plus Runestone, Grimtoll, or Greatness. And I'm really leaning towards Runestone and Grimtoll this season because that's going to give you 100% armor pen on proc, making you significantly more damage. And then the last item will be your thrown weapon, and that is the Twirling Blades. Twirling Blades is significantly better than your other options, and I really don't want to go into the other options because they're just so bad. And this is from 10-man, first boss hard mode, super easy to get. So I really would recommend going for your Twirling Blades. Other options like Giant's Bane, and that's not really that good. But if you don't have any other options, you can grab it. But this one gives you socket, hit, and armor pen. Absolutely good. All right, so that is your main set. This is going to be the bread and butter of Prot. From here, I will be showing you the other two sets. All right, this is my second set. This is my tanky armor pen set. This is 520 resilience baseline. Right now I have it set up to 552. You can actually take this all the way up into the 600s by switching the enchants. And I will show you that right now. So 1, 2, and 3. I think going high resilience is a little redundant as Prot because you kind of miss the point of like having the high burst that you want. But just to show it, like if you want, you can get to 627 resilience while being in defensive stance and having 52% armor pen. This is nothing to scoff at. This is an extremely, extremely tanky set. And you're still going to be packing a punch. 52% armor pen in D-stance is extremely good. Battle stance, you go up to 62, obviously. But most of the time, 99% of the time, you will be in defensive stance. Just to run through your the gear set here. You have the choice of doing the conch helm or the conch chest. The reason why we go with the helm is because the Furious helm has less resilience than the chest. So if you look at the Furious helm here, you get 68 resilience, and then if you look over at the Furious one, you get 85 resilience, but the gain in armor pen isn't that much from going to the Conqueror chest. So overall, the helm is the best piece to swap out for this. Other pieces you can swap out. Secondary would be the chest. That'd be the second best main set piece to swap out, and then the third would be the pants for the clockwork. So if you don't, the helm and the chest are very easy to get. You can get them from badges, but for whatever reason, if you don't have them and you have the legs, you can use the legs as well. The armor set here is pretty straightforward. I'm not going to go into all the details since I just spent 20 minutes talking about them in the first set. But it's the same kind of thing. Like if you don't have enough hit, like let's say you have the hip bracers here, you can use like double crit rings and like so on and so on. But overall, this is the tanky set. And then our final set will be the full-on armor pen set. This set is very low resilience. You can take this set to about 300 resilience if you really want to, at the cost of a little bit of armor pen. But as you can see, we're at 81% armor pen in battle stance. Defensive stance, we're at 71%. If we switch over to medallion, we get up to almost 200 resilience. And then we can switch to this enchant, and this enchant, get another like 70 resilience or so, 80 resilience, and bring us into the like 250 range, and then do a couple gems if we really wanted to. But that kind of beats the purpose of this set. This set's really the full-on burst set. Now it is a little experimental, and I'll show you all the pieces here. You have a bit of options. We're a little bit over hit cap, but that's just because we're going for max armor pen and max crit at the same time, trying to min-max the stats. You can get to, I think, 73% in D stance was the highest I hit. Battle stance, 83% armor penetration, but it's at the cost of being around 25% crit. I think the 4% crit is more valuable than 1.5% of armor penetration, since we're very much reliant on getting big crits. So going over the gear, conch helm, Hodier neck. These are the shoulders from 10-man hard mode cloak, conch chest, 10-man hard mode bracers, Furious axe, and you can do the PvE axe here. The resilience doesn't matter too much. PvE shield from 10-man axe for the most damage, and you can do the hit gloves too if you don't have one of these pieces. And just going through, it's pretty much all the max damage, max armor pen pieces out of all of the gear that you could possibly get. I'm not sure exactly how good this set would be, but a lot of the times, let's say you queue up and you're pretty tanky and people don't go you since you're a Prot warrior, right? So let's say you're running the like resilience set or like the 400 to 600 resilience set. You're running one of the other two sets for a while and you're fighting the same comps at higher rating. They're not gonna, like, if you know these teams aren't gonna be going for you and you're fighting like the same team over and over again, you can easily switch over to this 80% armor pen set and just blast somebody. To put this in perspective, you go battle stance and you get an executioner proc, you're at like 93, 94% armor pen. And obviously if you get your Rinstone proc, you're at over 100, like you're over capping. You might even want to run a greatness at a point, but like this is the I'm gonna blast you into oblivion set where you're sacrificing all your resilience. This is a very niche set. I think it's very experimental. It'd be really fun in BGs. It'd be very good in arena if people know that you're not low resilience and they're not targeting you. So maybe you get a one-off game on people and then they start hitting you and you switch back to other sets. But this is definitely going to be like a good pocket pick set to have. Anyways, guys, those are my 3 sets for Prot, and by no means are they the only possible sets. The biggest takeaway from this is these are the options you have, and mix match them. You can hit like any breakpoint of resilience with a different breakpoint of armor penetration crit, and you just kind of want to balance those 3 stats that hit what you're trying to get for your goals. I really think about 350 to 450 is going to be the sweet spot for resilience, and then you're going to want over 60% armor pen in D stance. I think as a baseline set, that's going to be your best, and then dropping some resilience for more armor pen, maybe down to 200 to this 100 may be viable in certain situations, but it's going to be more niche. And it's the same thing when you're increasing your resilience into the 600 and 500 range. That's going to be more niche as well. The 400, 450 is probably your sweetest spot for resilience, maybe even 350, and just trying to get to 65% armor pen in D stance. So let me know if you guys have any questions in the comments below. Hope you guys enjoyed playing Prot. I'll probably have some Prot videos coming up this season. I'm going to be playing a metric shit ton of Prot on my Twitch channel, so check that out, guys. Peace.